Let's face it, haunted roads are a thing of fascination around the world. Who amongst us hasn't heard of a ghostly hitchhiker asking for a ride on so and so road? Or the lady who roams aimlessly down another road and disappears when some concerned driver gets too close and asks if they need help. From small children to aging old men and beasts of all kinds, these roads will surely keep anyone driving through them at night on their toes. We're about to visit 3 of them, so hop on in and buckle up. Are you ready? Then take my hand, hold it tight, and let's drive into the darkness together. This is one of my favorite haunted road stories because it happens to take place right in the city where I was born, Chicago. The story goes that in 1927, a young woman by the name of Anna Mahira Norkis had a date with her boyfriend at the O. Henry Ballroom. She dressed in a beautiful white ball gown with a thin shawl, put on her dancing shoes, and styled her pretty blonde hair, then headed out for a night of fun and dancing. At first, everything was great. She and the boyfriend danced and had a wonderful time just as she had planned. But at some point later in the night, they began to argue for some unknown reason. The argument began to get heated and Anna decided that she was going to walk home, alone. She left the ballroom in a fit of rage and began to walk down Archer Avenue under the rain. Unfortunately, Anna never made it home. At some point between the ballroom and her house, a careless driver struck Anna and then fled the scene, leaving her there to die. Some say that her parents worried because she hadn't come home, went out searching for her, and found her body on the side of the road. Anna was buried in Resurrection Cemetery that happens to be right on Archer Avenue as well, just 30 minutes away from Chicago in Justice, Illinois. Mary's identity has been very recently discovered, but her spirit has actually been bewildering travelers since the 1930s. The first documented case actually being in 1939 by a man named Jerry Pallas, who reported that he met a pretty young girl with blonde hair and blue eyes at the Liberty Grove and Hall, who said her name was Mary. They danced the night away and even kissed. She eventually asked him to drive her home, and as they passed Resurrection Cemetery, Mary vanished. According to Jerry, her hands had been cold as ice. He also stated that she had told him that she lived on the south side of Chicago, but when taken home, she continued to ask him to take her to Archer Avenue, which is on the opposite side. The following morning, Jerry decided that he was going to visit the address on the south side that Mary had originally given him as her address. He arrived and knocked on the door, and the woman opened the door, and when he described Mary, the woman confessed that she was Mary's mother, but that Mary had been dead for years. In 1973, Mary is said to have appeared at Hollow's nightclub on Cicero Avenue. Sometime in the 70s as well, a cab driver claimed to have seen a young woman that fit Mary's description standing in front of Resurrection Cemetery at night. The cab driver, slightly concerned to see her there so late at night, pulled up to her and asked if she needed a ride. Mary began to walk towards him, but vanished before she reached the cab. Another cab driver in 1973 reportedly entered Chet's Medley Lounge, which sits right across from Resurrection Cemetery. He was asking around for a woman who looked a lot like Mary because she had left without paying her fare. In 1979, there was an article printed in a newspaper named The Suburban Trip by Bill Geist, where he interviewed a man named Ralph, who swore he had encountered a blonde woman who was young enough to be his daughter near a small shopping center on Archer Avenue. He gave her a ride, and after driving a couple of miles down Archer Avenue, he says that she jumped with a start like a horse and said, "Here, here!" I hit the brakes. I looked around and don't see no kind of house. "Where?" I said. And then she sticks her arm and points across the road to my left and says, "There!" And that's when it happened. I looked to my left, like this, at this little shack. And when I turned, she was gone, vanished, and the car door never opened. Bill Geist described Ralph as not an idiot or a maniac. He was a 52-year-old working man, a veteran, a father, a churchgoer. The legend says that only men encounter Mary, and although that may be true for meeting her in a random dancing hall or club in the area, it's not so much for random encounters on the street. In fact, in 1980, a woman named Claire Rudnicki and her husband Mark were driving down Archer Avenue going towards the direction of the cemetery when they see a young blonde woman in a white gown walking down the side of the road. Now, in this particular instance, they claimed that it was obvious that they were seeing an apparition and not a living being because Mary appeared to be partially transparent, and she had a white aura behind her, making her look as if she was glowing. Flabbergasted and unable to believe what they had just seen, the couple decided to make a U-turn to confirm if they had just seen a ghost. But by the time they did that and returned to where they had spotted Mary, she had already disappeared. As creepy as these appearances by Mary are, she has been known to do something far more frightening and dangerous. See, Mary likes to appear right in front of cars as they pass the entrance of Resurrection Cemetery. In 1976, 78, 80, and 89, there have been reports of people who claim they hit or nearly hit Mary. Yet by the time they had gotten down from their vehicle to check on who they thought they had just hit, Mary was nowhere in sight. Just like that, she had vanished. The 1989 report was actually from a woman named Janet Kalal, who had gone out for an evening drive with her friend. She claimed that as she passed Resurrection Cemetery, a young woman wearing a white gown suddenly jumped right in front of her car. Janet had no time to react before she had hit the young woman, except that for some strange reason, she hadn't heard a sound. No scream, no impact, nothing. Janet immediately slammed on the brakes and got down, but there was no one there. And after checking her car, she also realized that it had absolutely no damage. All that Janet and her friend could do was to stand there and try to make sense of what they had just experienced. Now, there are some people who claim to have seen a spirit that roams the very same cemetery at night. But although the description sort of matches that of Mary, no one is certain if it truly is her. What is certain, however, is that Mary has become very popular, being the subject of ballads, horror movies, and paranormal TV shows. Another thing that's certain is that the next time I visit my hometown, I'll be checking out Archer Avenue and paying Mary a little visit. Who knows, I might come back with some first-hand accounts about Mary and what really happens on Archer Avenue. On the beautiful island of Maui, there is a 64.4-mile-long highway called Hana Highway. The highway is famous not only because it's a stunningly gorgeous coastal drive that's filled with places to detour off to, which include waterfalls, rainforests, hikes, and beautiful beaches, but it's also an extremely dangerous road. The single-lane road consists of 617 sharp turns, 59 bridges, of which 46 of them can only have one car at a time maneuver through them, and a crazy amount of blind spots. There's also cliffs with steep points and absolutely no traffic lights. In fact, there are no lights, period. If you're caught driving down this road at night, you better pray to all of the Hawaiian gods that your headlights don't give out, because you'll be driving right on the edge of a cliff with no guardrails, crazy turns, and in pitch darkness. The road was built in the 1920s and connects Kahului to Hana. And probably the only thing that's stopping most people who drive on it from having an untimely death is its 25 miles per hour speed limit. However, if that gave you any sense of comfort or safety, forget it. Even Mother Nature has decided to partake here, making the waterfalls and roads in the area prone to flash floods and rock slides. All of this combined leads to Hana Highway always making it into those top 10 most dangerous highways lists. There are 68 non-resident deaths a year on it. There's also 550 hospitalizations a year and a whopping 7,730 ER visits per year due to Hana Highway. Not to mention the residents who also perish while driving this road, like Breeze Kalalau, a 23-year-old woman who was heading east on Hana Highway on November 2nd, 2019 at around 9 p.m. with her 21-year-old best friend in the passenger seat. According to local news, Breeze failed to negotiate a curve on the road near the gulch. Breeze ended up driving off the road and onto a dirt overlook, but it seems that her car stopped too close to the cliff's edge and ended up going over it, dropping 188 feet and landing upside down and partially submerged in water. Officials did arrive to the scene of the accident, but it was too late. Both women perished in the tragic accident. And it's not just people who are driving that are at risk, of course. Those who feel the need to cross the road need to be extremely careful as well. A tragic example of this is Jason Walsh, a 51-year-old man who tried to cross Hana Highway on an intersection on May 26, 2022 at around 5:24 a.m. and was struck by a vehicle. He was rushed to Maui Memorial Medical Center emergency room and later transferred to Kaiser Moanalua Hospital in Oahu. But sadly, his injuries were too extreme and he succumbed to them and passed away on June 15, 2022. I'm sure that it's no surprise to anyone that a road that is this deadly has its fair share of spirits roaming it, like a woman who is dressed all in white. She asks for a ride into Hana and jumps into the car, but once the vehicle reaches Hana, the woman vanishes, leaving no trace that she was ever there. Yet, two of the most popular haunted highway stories from Hana Highway have nothing to do with the accidents that happened on it. There's actually a story that has been passed around for many years stating that during the construction of the highway, the workers would constantly see the ghosts of ancient Hawaiian warriors in the area. Maybe they're part of the danger in the highway, or maybe they had been trying to warn the workers of the many tragedies that were to come if they continued to build. Maybe they were even trying to scare the workers off to prevent them. Who knows? There are others who claim that the highway is haunted by none other than Madame Pele herself, who is of course the Hawaiian goddess of volcanoes. She is said to take on various forms as she walks the highway, including what is said to be her most dangerous form. A woman dressed completely in white with long white hair to match. If you ever visit Maui and find yourself on the road to Hana, remember to be extra cautious, keep to the speed limit, and keep in mind that there are many more dangers on that road than just imprudent drivers. In Ohio, there is a road that connects the villages of Amelia and Bethel. Between these two, there's a tiny village named Bantam, where Route 222 meets Route 125. The intersection is considered to be dark and scary, but it's what is said to haunt this road, particularly between the time of 1:20 and 1:40 a.m. That is what truly brings horror to the hearts of those who drive down this path. Originally built in 1831 to be a part of the Ohio Turnpike, the two-lane road had been built with a pretty sharp curve at the top of a hill. The curve turned out to be a little too sharp, causing many of the horse-drawn carriages that would try to cross over it at the time to tip over and come crashing down the hill, causing numerous fatalities. In 1968, they decided to straighten the road out to try to lower the fatality rate. They also widened the road up to 4 lanes. Officials were pleased with the job they had done and were sure that this would save plenty of lives. By now, the road had already gotten its nickname, Dead Man's Curve, and they decided to have a ribbon-cutting ceremony once the construction had been completed to commemorate the end of Dead Man's Curve. Yet, it wasn't exactly the end. A month after the ribbon cutting, there was a terrible accident on the road. A green roadrunner that was said to have been traveling at over 100 miles per hour impacted an Impala with 5 teenagers inside. Only 1 person survived this tragic collision. After the accident, a few things have been said to have happened. The first is that although the road is now pretty flat and straight, there have still been an alarming number of accidents happening on it. In fact, they say that over 70 people have perished on it since the renovation. There is no logical reason for this, nothing on the road that could confuse or endanger passengers, yet the road continues to be a hazard for some reason. The second thing is that people have begun to see a green roadrunner zooming down that stretch of road, and at times even chasing down other vehicles. No one knows who the roadrunner belongs to, and those who do see it tend to lose track of it seconds after they see it. And the last and creepiest thing that has been happening on this road is that people claim that from 1:20 to 1:40 a.m., a hooded man likes to appear on the road and hitch a ride from unsuspecting drivers. When these drivers get close enough, they realize that the hooded hitchhiker has no face. There's only darkness. Some people have reported that while driving down that particular stretch of road, their car suddenly begins to be attacked by someone hurling rocks at them, but they can never see who's attacking them or from where the attacks are coming. There are also some accounts that the hitchhiker will sometimes appear right in front of an oncoming car, and when the startled driver runs through the hitchhiker will turn around and begin to chase the car down. No one knows who the hitchhiker could be or why he began to haunt the road after that terrible accident happened. But it does sound like that accident may have been what unlocked all of the paranormal phenomena on the road. That's it for today. Would you drive down one of these roads alone at night? Let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know where you're from if you found me through a bill. You can help my small channel grow by sharing it with others who love scary, haunted highway tales just like us. And, as always, please remember to like if you liked and subscribe if you want more. See you next time.